Hello and welcome back to the Chap's Guide, the channel where we talk about men's style, men's grooming, and in fact anything that'll help you on your journey to being the best chap that you can be. Now today I'm going to do a review on a product which I love, I wear very regularly, and I can endorse wholeheartedly, albeit this is an entirely independent review and it's just my opinion. And nobody's paid me or offered me any endorsements to speak in the way I'm going to about this product, and that is Floris No. 89. Probably one of the most iconic fragrances in the man's fragrance world for a whole host of reasons, which we will try and explore in this video, as well as talking about the fragrance itself. So, what is so special about Floris No. 89? And I guess it begins with the brand itself. If you know me, you know that I buy into the heritage of a brand when I get involved in patronizing or buying any of the products that I tend to buy. And with Floris, it can be no more traditional. You know, you won't find anything more heritage steeped than perhaps this brand, because Floris can date itself back to 1720. That's right, 1720. That is 46 years before the American Constitution was signed, creating that great country. That's how far back this goes. You know, a generation before even the USA came into being. Amazingly, Floris is still in family hands. I believe it's in the 9th generation of that family now, and it's still in the same place where it all began, where the journey began. And that ties into the story of No. 89 as well, as will become apparent in a moment. So let's talk about the brand. It all goes back to the originator, the founder, and that's a chap called Juan Floris, who with his wife Elizabeth travelled to Great Britain from their home in Menorca in Spain to set up a business. And they found themselves in that smartest of places, the West End of London, in Jermyn Street, where the Floris company still is headquartered today in No. 89 Jermyn Street, hence the name No. 89. And he was a comb maker, and in his store there in the West End, he sold shaving accoutrements, combs, and a whole host of other things for men's grooming, really. It was a grooming shop in that era, for that era. And it became quite successful. They created their own fragrances, and you know, London in that time was at the forefront of the world's fashion and style, and you know, at that shop, No. 89 Jermyn Street became the go-to place for shaving products, for all of the things, grooming products, which were very popular with the dandies and the dapper dressers of that era. And it became very much an establishment favourite, and even achieving its first royal warrant in 1820, and it still has 2 royal warrants to this day. It is the only perfumier to Her Majesty the Queen who holds a royal warrant, and also is patronised by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, who also gets his fragrances from Floris. So it's very much been at the heart of the establishment of the well-dressed and dapper chap in this whole, you know, nearly 300-year history that has been in point of case with Floris. So why was that the case? Well, it's been there. It's been at that epicenter of style and fashion in London, and that's perhaps why, you know, even in more modern era, it has been patronized by people such as Florence Nightingale, Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, in fact, was a big fan of Floris. Didn't wear No. 89. He's famously known for wearing Floris's brand Special 127, which is a lovely, beautiful fragrance, and it's definitely on my wish list for a future fragrance to buy. But very popular. And even in the much more modern era, we saw people like Marilyn Monroe wearing one of their geranium flavoured products. And the great style icons of Cary Grant and David Niven also were customers and wore a variety of the products which Floris created. So very much there, right in the heart of it all, in the trendy, the cool and the stylish. One thing which has cemented Floris, and particularly No. 89, is its association with a certain infamous international spy, and that's James Bond 007. Possibly the coolest of all men, certainly in the stylized world, because in the literary iterations of Ian Fleming, obviously the creator of James Bond, the name Floris came up many times, and it was particularly referenced, I believe, in the books Moonraker and Diamonds Are Forever. And actually, Ian Fleming was a customer of Floris, and his preferred fragrance of choice, number 89. So you will often see number 89 referred to as the fragrance of James Bond. Although in point of fact, and contrary to belief, James Bond has never actively, within a literary work, ever been attributed with wearing a specific iteration of Floris. So he's never worn 89, or it's never been said that he's worn 89, but that relationship with Ian Fleming wearing number 89 has often led people to hypothesize that the fragrance that Bond would have worn would have been 89, because many of the traits that Ian Fleming had and encountered in his life as a bit of an espionage expert, he was a commander in the Navy, things like that. There was a lot of crossovers between Fleming's life and Bond, and the sort of hypothesis has been that this is Bond's aftershave as well. So we'll go with that, because I like to think that I wear the same aftershave as possibly the coolest man who's ever donned a tuxedo. So I'm happy with that. So that's where this whole association of coolness and things like that has come. Today, nothing has changed. Floris is still in that same store. It is still in number 89. It is still pumping out these fantastic traditional scents that have been there for generations. Number 89 was launched onto the market in 1951. And it was mixed in the underground mixing rooms in number 89, the store in Jermyn Street, an area that they call the mine, where many of their great products were created. And yes, it all originates from that store. And in fact, I bought this bottle from that store personally when I visited London earlier this year. And if you ever, as a chap, find yourself in the West End of London by Burlington Arcade in St James's, and you get the opportunity to walk down Jermyn Street, as a chap, you owe it to yourself to do so, because you'll walk past those iconic brands. Turnbull and Asser, Bond's shirt manufacturer. They are right next door, more or less in the street. You'll find Tailors of Old Bond Street, probably the best shaving accoutrement shop in the world. You'll find George Trumper just around the corner, Dunhill just across the street, and a load of manufacturers like Cheney Shoes and John Lobb, loads of these great names of men's style and couture and sartorial excellence, all in that street. And right there in the middle, in number 89, is Floris. If you walk into that store, in a way it's like walking back in time. It's all beautifully panelled in wood, and all of the fragrances are laid out, and there's a great big sort of circular tester in the middle where all the different fragrances are available, and they've got to have 30, 40, 50 different fragrances for you to try before you make that decision of what you'd like. So well worth popping in. They make you feel welcome, and they'd love to have a chat with you. I know the last time I popped in, it was I think February this year when I bought this bottle. Didn't intend to buy anything, just walking down the street. You can't walk down Jermyn Street without popping into these stores. And I had a chat. I was with my wife, and I had a chat about the Bond association with number 89. I'd never smelled it actually in any great depth. I actually didn't think I would like it. I thought, it's all hyped, it's all of this this association of Bond has been overdone somewhat. I was aware that association was very tenuous. Bond has never actually worn 89, but I thought I'd give it a try. And I'm quite a traditional fragrance lover. I like the traditional flavors and fragrances. I tried it, and I had that connection. I really liked it, and I normally, if I find something that bonds with me, I will go with that, and that's what happened. And this has become my go-to fragrance from that point on. So, what can I tell you about the actual fragrance itself? Because let's be honest, you can put as much marketing as you like into anything. You can spin its story with Bond or whatever you want, but unless it smells good, you're not going to buy it, you're not going to wear it. And when it comes to Floris, what does it smell like? Well, this is an eau de toilette for a start, so you'll be aware, of course, in the different tiers of potency of men's fragrance, that eau de toilette sits rather in the middle. So you start off on the weekend with things like aftershave, which have a very low content of active ingredient. Then you've got eau de cologne, eau de toilette in the middle, then eau de parfum and parfum at the top. So eau de toilette, very common in the sort of traditional fragrance level to have that sort of level of potency. And this is an eau de toilette. And what does it smell like? Well, I'm going to give it a little try. I know very well what it smells like. I shaved with it this morning and I've used it today. So I'm just going to put a little bit on my hand just to get that fragrance. And let's have a little whiff. And it's worth taking a moment to let it get into your nasal passage and really go to work on those sensors that communicate it to the brain. So for me, it has initially quite a zesty, citrusy flavour or fragrance, and there's a little bit of florality there as well. So I think it's described as having a bit of lavender, and I can sense that. There's also a bit of bergamot, which you'll be aware is a member of the lime family. So quite a sharp, citrusy, zesty fragrance. So I definitely connect with those, and that's at the sort of heart, at the head of the fragrance, or the top of the fragrance, and that's what you get initially, and that'll sort of taper away into the heart and the base fragrance as it goes on. And from experience, it'll tell me, I know very well, that those base fragrances are very much woody, cedarwood, sandalwood fragrances I truly love, and very much those conservative, almost leathery, woody fragrance, which I really connect with. The zestiness of the bergamot, limey fragrance, for me, connects very nicely. So, a fragrance that works very much for me. So let's talk about some of its specifics. So, it's been around since 1951, so it's stood the test of time. But when can you use it? What is it good for? Well, let's talk about the age range, because I think this is important. Some fragrances tend to lend themselves better to people perhaps in later life, and the more brash, powerful fragrances tend to be favoured by much younger people. When it comes to Floris, this is a fragrance which I think would suit pretty much all ages. It is a bit more conservative, a bit more traditional, if I'm being honest. So I would say 30 plus, but that's not to say if you're 25 and a stylish fellow that you shouldn't have a go at this, because I think it crosses the age categories rather nicely, and it can be worn by people of any age. At what time of the day would I recommend you wear this? Well, because of its light fragrance and the fact that it's not perhaps overwhelming, it's an eau de toilette at the end of the day, I think you could wear this at any time of day. It doesn't, it's not too heavy to put on first thing in the morning. It's not too light to put on if you're going out to an evening event where you perhaps want something with more character. But I think this cuts a nice dash right across the middle. It's not too overbearing, it's not too weak, it's just right there in the middle. So would I wear it to an occasion? Well, I think for me, yes, it has got that character that I could wear it out in the evening and feel special. It's something which you could put on and it would elevate your mood, elevate your confidence, because I think very much so fragrance plays that role for a man. It can boost you up, it can make you feel a bit more, as if you've got something about you, and very much I think this is strong enough to do that, yet you can put it on in the morning, go to work knowing that it's not going to be overbearing. Another thing that people like to ask is it masculine enough? Because a lot of Floris products have been described as being unisex. They're capable of being worn by men or women, and I think that's not a bad thing. Many of the better fragrances are in that category. I would say it is masculine. Of course it's masculine. It's worn by James Bond, probably the most masculine man who ever walked this planet. It's as masculine as you feel like. So I would say it's not too beefy, no, too meaty. It's not one of these fragrances which knocks your nose off, as some alpha males would perhaps wear, who like to announce their presence in the room by their odour before they enter the room. It's not in that category, but it is masculine, certainly masculine enough for me, and I enjoy wearing it at any occasion. So what time of year would you wear it? Well, now that we're hitting the sort of heart notes of this fragrance, I would say a little bit of orange, a little bit of zesty, bergamot, limey fragrance. It's the sort of thing for me which lends itself well to the summertime and the warmer times of year, yet its richness is enough for it to be worn in the winter as well. So I wouldn't run away with saying it's entirely a warm weather fragrance, but definitely for me tends to be more summery, but I would definitely wear it in the winter as well. So what about its projection and the way that it radiates to people? Well, it's not overbearing. I've already alluded to that. If I got into an elevator wearing this, you know, the people in that confined space are not going to be gagging or coughing. It's not like that. It's not too overbearing, too unpleasant on the nostrils. It's not an assault on the senses. It's got quite a conservative, subtle fragrance, as well as, you know, being what I've said, very top heavy with orangey bergamot. And so I think for that point of view, you know, its projection is in the medium category. It's not weak, it's not strong, it's right there in the middle. For me, it hits the sweet spot all day long. And importantly for many people, well, how does it last? What's its longevity like once you've applied it? I would say it's definitely over the halfway mark if we're looking at it as a sliding scale between weak and strong. So I know that if I put this on in the morning, you know, it'll be active on my skin for say 4 to 6 hours. If I was going out in the evening, after perhaps work, having applied this in the morning when I shaved or when I was getting ready, I would definitely look to reapply before going out if I wanted that fragrance to be something I was projecting and radiating to others. But certainly it's being an eau de toilette for a start. You know, it's a little bit more powerful than some of the fragrances out there, so it's got good longevity on the skin. So what about the presentation? What about the way the product is delivered up to us by Floris? How does it make me feel? Well, it's quite simply delivered actually. It's not a fancy bottle. It comes in a very simple packaging. It's got the royal warrants emblazoned upon it, which they're very proud of, just the name and just the simple number 89. And this 100 milliliter bottle here, as you can see, very, very simple. Simple bottle with a little raised areas with Floris down the side, and the label just says Floris and number 89. Small font, not in your face, understated. I would go as far as to say very typically British. It's not brash, it's not trying to, you know, shout to you it's something spectacular. It's understated and classy, and that really is what underpins the whole Floris brand. And all of the Floris products come in the same sort of packaging, just with a different label on it indicating what the product is. So very simple, very elegant, very subtle, totally British, and yeah, very good. Across the range, there are other products as well. So I took the opportunity just recently of purchasing some of their shaving soap, and it comes in this beautiful walnut container, and it's got a puck of shaving soap in the middle. I've used this, and in fact you'll see shortly a video of me using this product and giving it a run, and pretty good. Not bad, imbued with the same fragrance as well as the 89, so this is the 89 shaving soap, and yeah, not bad. So if you like layering your products, it's a route you may wish to take. A little bit expensive though. Costs £35 for a shaving soap, which is expensive when you consider that 100 millilitres of the eau de toilette costs only £80. This is very modest actually when you look at these prices. You know, when you consider a bottle of say Creed Aventus is what, £400 plus, makes this seem very, very reasonable. So for £80, you know, 100 millilitres, I believe 60 is it, or 50 millilitres costs £60. So you know, you can go into it at a lower price point, but cost effectiveness, the 100 millilitres is the way to go. The shaving soap, expensive. Personally, I wouldn't go down there unless you really, really want to layer your fragrances. That's too expensive for what it is, in my opinion. But I've gone into more depth than that in a future shaving review of that. And finally, that I've got here anyway, there's a much broader range, but there's a face scrub here which I included in a face scrub review earlier in the year where I compared a number of different face scrubs, and the Floris one I didn't rate very highly at all. It was actually a disappointment to me. The fragrance is only very, very little, subtle and light within it, and it didn't perform very well as a facial scrub either. So actually I sense that these other accoutrements are actually a bit of an add-on to the main product, which is, you know, carrying the weight of the product, the brand. The actual eau de toilette, and I believe they do it in an aftershave as well, definitely worth going down that road, but think carefully before investing your hard-earned money in the other the other product range as well, because let's be honest, they're all the bridesmaids really, and the fragrance is the bride. So think about where you're putting your hard-earned cash. My own assessment though of the product overall, I love it. As I say, I went into the store thinking it's overhyped, I'm not going to like it. I connected with it immediately. I couldn't care less if it was made by Floris, if it was used by James Bond or not. It really doesn't matter to me. If I like the fragrance, I'm going to wear it. I like this fragrance. It connects well with me. Now time has passed, it's gone into the base notes now of the fragrance, and it's definitely the woody aftertone, and that's really what I like. I like a product which makes me feel good and which makes me elevate my mood and feel a bit more confident, and Floris does that for me. The heritage is good, but the smell is king, and in this occasion the fragrance works for me. I would describe it as a quintessentially British product. It smells of Britain. I can't put any more than that to it. Traditional, heritage, steadfast, trustworthy. Perhaps in one sentence I've described the traits that we like to think of ourselves as patriots and residents of this country, and that's how Floris makes me feel. When I wear it, it makes me feel a little bit more British. What more of an endorsement can I give? I imagine for the duration of my life now I've found it, you will always find a bottle of Floris in my collection, and I'd like to try some more of their products now. I mean, my next one is going to be the special number 127, which was favoured by Winston Churchill, because apparently that's very zesty and citrusy as well. But Floris at the moment, I'm in love with it. I love it. I wear it very regularly. It's in my regular rotation, and if you're a chap, perhaps you should consider that too, to try it and give it a go. If you're not certain about making a big investment, you can order a little tester on the Floris website. They'll send it out to you. I think it costs under £2, so you can have a little go of it beforehand, live with it, a little, couple of millilitres in a little vial, and that way you can trial it without investing your money with any risk. So there we go. So I hope you have enjoyed this review and our conversation today about Floris the brand and Floris number 89. I think you've probably guessed it's a hit for me. If you have, I would encourage you to click that thumbs up button for us, because it's good for the channel, for them to know that you enjoy what we do. And also I would invite you to join us here at the Chap's Guide community by clicking that subscribe button. Helps the channel grow, but also helps us know that the work that we're doing is hitting the right mark for you chaps. And don't forget, leave a comment in the comment section below. If there's a fragrance you think I should try and share, let me know. I'm always willing to do that, as long as it's not hyper expensive. Don't be suggesting any Creed stuff. I haven't got the money to go down that route. So thanks for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to share my afternoon with you and to share what has become my favourite fragrance with you. And until the next time, I hope you stay safe and well, you and your families enjoy the summer, and we'll meet again very soon back here at the Chap's Guide. Until then, all the very best.